Red Lake was such a passion of mine, understanding the history there, how the discovery was made. And when I had looked at the Dryden Gold property, I thought, wow, there are so many similarities here, like geometry wise.
Well, it's very nice to have you here today with us, Maura, on Minestock Talk. And you've had a very, very interesting career with over 15 years. And one thing I'd really like to highlight is your involvement as a board member in the, Northwestern Ontario Women in Mining chapter. And I think that's really, really great thing to talk about because women are really starting to make their voices heard in this industry. And I think it's really important. And then that's why I'm so excited to talk to you today. And I'd really like to hear a little bit about your career and also how did you get involved with Dryden?
Great story. We've actually had a lot of interesting luck fall together here with our Dryden team. I've spent 8 years in Red Lake, so I'm very familiar with Northwestern Ontario. I've been here really my whole career, kind of fell in love with this region and the opportunity for gold exploration here. So I had lived in Dryden. I was working for Treasury Metals, and I wanted to get more into the management side of the company and some of the decision making. I had just left, and 𝗙𝗏𝗟𝗟 kind of found me out of the blue and called me up, and I was just about actually to switch directions and even look at lithium, which kind of in hindsight, glad I didn't because I'm certainly a gold girl. Yeah, and so that was very serendipitous, and it falls really well into my background because Red Lake was such a passion of mine, understanding the history there, how the discovery was made. And when I had looked at the Dryden Gold property, I thought, wow, there are so many similarities here, like geometry wise, but just so little exploration. So I got very excited about kind of the thrill of hunting it down, figuring it out from the ground up, and using all of those things I'd learned, looking at 80 years of exploration and mining history in Red Lake, of how we could kind of maybe do it faster or easier here.
Would you say that the area has been sort of overlooked and undervalued? Is that like kind of what attracts you or has attracted you to it particularly?
Absolutely. We have all of the right ingredients here. And when you look at some of our slides show the results kind of from top to bottom of this property, there is some screaming high grade, and it's really all over. No one spent the time to systematically put that together into kind of an overall thesis for the region. This town, Dryden, is really a forestry town. So there's been lots of activity with forestry, but mining has always been to the north, just a few hours north of here in Red Lake, and to the south, just hasn't caught on. So I think it's just overlooked. Canada's very resource-based, but mining kind of stays in the shadows of the headframes. This was a forestry town. So we have a huge opportunity because we have great road access to almost everything. We can piggyback off of the work forestry is doing. And that's actually, how we've made some of our more regional kind of discoveries in the field program.
The underdog.
Yeah, interesting. So the lumber industry's been there a long time. I recall driving through it, seeing the large mills and that. So you're saying that gives you good access from a infrastructure point of view?
Absolutely. So some of the problems that explorers face, especially in Canada, is that there's really no way to get to your targets. So we fly airborne geophysics, and it can give you a really good idea of what's going on under the surface. And, you can start to see the geometries of folds and faults. But if you can't drive to them, or it's going to be, helicopter bound, you really start to get very, very expensive, and it makes it challenging to make discoveries. We're also very lucky because a lot of places in Canada have a lot of cover, just lots and lots of soil and till and everything. We don't have that problem. We actually have fairly good exposure. The rocks have been silicified, and so they actually stick up above the ground and give us some exposure. There are a few historic mines on the property way back at the turn of the century, kind of carted it out with horse and buggies across the lakes. And those were found because they actually stick up and you can see the veins outcrop on surface. So it kind of gives us a unique opportunity that way.
Interesting. So that would tie into your latest announcement.
Yeah. So we intersected almost 9 grams over a little over 12 meters, which is really exciting. That's a significant result. Really, to have that high grade over that kind of width starts to get very exciting. And that's actually on one of the historic mine trends. So I'll back up a little bit. We're doing our drill campaigns, and really our brownfields opportunity is an area we call the Gold Rock Camp. There were a few historic mines there, but very shallow, really at the turn of the century again. Like it's a ghost town when you go in there. You can actually see rock buildings of the old mills, and it's really cool. This is very exciting because we're starting to see some significant widths to the high grade and starting to reproduce that over and over. So we've had about 3 holes that have hit over 100 gram meters on 𝗚𝗨𝗟. So to me, that's starting to say like, hey, we have something significant. We're able to kind of reproduce this. And that gets me excited. Having worked at a mine and an exploration in my career, we want to find something that you can actually get some consistency on. Our real goal here has been to understand the controls of high grade so that we can start to predict where these high grade zones are, find more of them, and make something significant here in the Gold Rock Camp.
Now, just to get down to the drilling of the details, how would you say the recent findings compare to previous drilling campaigns?
What I'm starting to see is some consistency with our results, which is nice. When I describe this zone to people, like I kind of think like the easiest way is to explain it like a river. So we have some areas where it'll narrow out, some areas where it'll branch into several zones, kind of like a braided stream. And so that's what we're starting to see, but it's enough material in this area that it's starting to look significant. And I'm always kind of thinking 10 steps ahead. Could these intercepts actually, come into something mineable? And to me, that's what we're starting to see with, multiple hits of high grade with good widths. And even though, we had one that was more narrow, that's not uncommon in these systems. We had one result there on this program that we released. We had ultramafic dikes in. So that's really also common to see in these type of deposits, that you'll have those kind of knocking out gold mineralization. But to me, it's really starting to seem like a robust system and something that we can work on and expand on.
And will there be a drill program going forward? And if so, like when would it start, or what's the timing look like?
We actually started it at the same time we were getting the results back. So very busy couple of weeks for us here in Dryden. So we have the full team here on site right now. We're drilling the 𝗚𝗨𝗟 target again. We saw these results. Anna, with the VP of Exploration, and I worked together in Red Lake. We saw these and we thought, okay, we have an opportunity before Christmas. Let's get out there and test this theory a little bit more, to go a little bit deeper on these holes and see if we can't expand and continue to have these high grade results at 𝗚𝗨𝗟.
And since that brings up the question of funding, do you have enough funding arranged at this time to complete that phase of the drilling program?
Summer was looking pretty grim in the junior mining space, but it seems like the market is kind of turned around. I know with the U.S. elections questions, we'll see where it all goes, but we seem to have kind of a turnaround. Some excitement has started to be generated in the fall, and we caught the bug too, and so did our investors. So we were in Beaver Creek, and we're telling the story, what we had learned over the summer through all of kind of the boring geology stuff that me and the nerds do. And we started to really get some momentum telling the story about, we're understanding this. We think we can predict it. So we actually raised $5 million. That gives us a nice cushion, to a nice amount of money to work with to keep the drills turning. Now we've been doing our drilling in this very phased approach. It probably comes from all my years with the major mining companies, but I don't want to rush it. I want to get the results back, understand them, and then deploy the next drill program. So you'll see us continue to do that. What we're going to do is this small campaign on 𝗚𝗨𝗟 based on what we've just learned, and then in the new year go back with the rest of the results from the Big Master and the 𝗚𝗨𝗟 area and Gold Rock and follow up. We also did quite a bit of work regionally. So if we're starting to get those results back too, and initially they're looking pretty interesting. So, we may deploy some of our capital there as well.
It begs the question, given with the election, everything that's happening and your discoveries, what do you think the potential market reaction could be to these high grade intersections? And really at the end of the day, from a shareholder's point of view, how would you feel that they would benefit from all these things?
I think we're just at a tipping point where we're starting to get that momentum. The junior market has a lot of different kinds of companies in it. And it's hard as an investor to tell, who really has a good project, a good management team, and can deliver. So I hope and I believe that we're starting to get that credibility that we understand and we can deliver high grade. results time and time again that we are doing systematic exploration kind of best practices. I think something that will be very exciting for our shareholders and something we've been, working on is to attract a strategic investment. So, there are lots of major companies that we have been talking to, and we get good feedback on what we're doing. So, hopefully I think that will be another big catalyst for us going forward to add value to our shareholders and really start to see kind of that extra check mark that, hey, these guys are legit, they're doing the right things, and help us stand out from a very saturated crowd.
A couple things you mentioned was, telling the story and how important management is.
It's such a complex industry, right? Because you're marrying, raising money for something that is, we're exploring. We're true explorers out there in the bush fighting off the snakes and whatever, so it's very different. We have a huge range of people that are interested in it, from the nerds with our heads in the rocks and really understanding the geology, but maybe not the money side. So it's a very diverse group of investors and even people that work in it. So it's kind of getting everybody to the same playing field. That's so important.
Well, we have the gold bug. So.
Yeah, we like being shareholders.
I have it too.
We love the fact that you guys are explorers. But you've mentioned shareholders a couple of times. Could you give us an idea of what kind of shareholders are involved in the company at this point?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're very lucky. We talked about management. Our board has had a lot of success taking projects like this and adding shareholder value through M&A. So I think that helped give us that credibility right off the get-go. And for our shareholder group, we have, Eric Sprott. We talked with Rob McEwen. It was so fun to talk with him because, with my experience in Red Lake, we really got into kind of the weeds about what happened there and then the similarities we saw and the potential here in the Gold Rock camp to be, another Red Lake. So nerded out quite a bit there. We have the 𝗀𝗏𝗟 Gold Fund. I mean, the list goes on and we can name drop forever, but it seems like every person that we get in front of and tell the story to, they see the energy and the upside potential that, doing all the right steps, we can get there. And we have, Trey has had great success with 𝗙𝗎 royalties. Mine and Anna's background kind of wrangling these complex deposits into something mineable really gives us that credibility that we can turn this into something. So it's a balance between the money and the technical. You have to have both.
Yeah, you do. There's no question about that. Then you also have to have property that makes sense. It sounds like the latest discovery does. Is there more areas on the property, though, that will be looked at going forward?
I have I'm very, very excited about our regional potential as well. And so, I don't want to forget about that. What we've been learning at the Gold Rock camp where we had the most data is that there's, two different age structures and their interactions can be really good traps and important for gold. So we looked at the entire camp for that. And we focused our very, very first exploration program before we were even a publicly traded company, just kind of getting out and getting boots on the ground to the entire property. Now, I've walked parts of all 70,000 hectares, and we've actually been to all of it. So it's pretty impressive, again, because we have great infrastructure. So I'm really excited about the Hinman property. We had 3 samples over 10 grams in one location last year that was just off the side of the road. So we deployed a big mapping campaign this year. We also did kind of the desk work to use the geophysics to show us very similar anomalies, just like that one that we found sort of by accident doing our recon. So I can't wait to get all of those results back. I think that'll be coming soon. I really feel that's a great place for us to keep working. And on a kind of environmental and community side, that was completely clear cut. We're following up in an area where it's already been disturbed, so it's not pristine at all. It's been clear cut, and it gives us great access, but it's also, the time to come in and explore. It just makes sense from a community side. So that's exciting. And then down to the south part of our property, we relooked at work the Manitou had done. They did their first drill campaign there. They did 10 holes. 7 of them had visible gold in it. And I think with their 53,000 gram per ton hit in Gold Rock, everything else got forgotten about. But that's another excellent target. It's in an area that was clear cut before, so there's incredible access. We just basically walk along the deposit because the intrusion, the thing that's kind of hosting the gold, that contact is just along the road. So we went back out, took a good look at that. We're relogging the core there. So I think we'll definitely still be focused on the Gold Rock camp, but these other 2 targets, they're really quite compelling as well.
You just mentioned that they were clear cut. Is there any involvement with First Nations, or how does that work at this point, or the community at large?
Absolutely. For all of those groups, we definitely have engaged early. So one thing that's very nice and I think differentiates our team as well is that, I'm the president of the company and I'm based here in Dryden as part of the community. We've went out and met the two First Nation communities that are in our area. And we've been talking to them about kind of what their preference is. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure we explore the areas where the forestry has already been done or recently, so that we can kind of disturb it only once. If there's nothing there, well, we've looked at it now. We don't have to disturb it again. So we're trying to collaborate with them on ways to explore that make sense. This is an area where tourism is very, very important. So the lakes are incredible. It's a rainy day outside, but I'm sitting here by the lake. It's a beautiful place to live. And, fishing is very important to everyone here. So we want to really be cautious and think about what is important to the community, because everybody can benefit if we can find a deposit here. So we want to make sure it makes sense for everyone.
Well, that's another thing that we've discovered is extremely it's just so important to make sure that these communities work together and that they're working with the industry, because as we all know, and Kevin always says this, and I love the way he says it, he's like, well, if we don't mine, then we're dead. Like, it's just a fact of life. So we have to figure out a way to do it in a harmonious manner, but also responsibly. So it makes me feel good, and knowing that Dryden is doing the work and has been doing the work the whole time, it makes me feel confident. It's great for anybody who would be watching right now to be educated and understand what that really truly encapsulates.
I think it's really a unique situation to be so local and kind of it feels homegrown in a way, but I think that will continue to benefit us in the future as we continue to explore.
Well, we'll definitely be coming up to see the area, and it's good to know that you're there, because we need someone to show us. But we do like trucks and Jeeps and things, so if there's road access, we'd go in and have a look. But here's a question on workforce. Is it hard to get workforce there? I know it's a busy area in the first place, but how's it working out that way?
It's been pretty incredible. We were using consultants when we first started out, which, is pretty typical, but we've actually just started to get our own crew. And again, more good luck. We have Kat Holt, who had done her thesis on the property, introduced to her through someone else, and we just brought her on, and she's doing a wonderful job. We have our core cutter is a local gentleman here, and we've just had some really good luck hiring people. So far, so good. We were able to actually track down a good core shack location on an old golf course. So we have lots of space and a nice big warehouse. It's all starting to come together, which is excellent. And something nice too, because we're kind of in a mining hub, we have Red Lake to the north, Rainy River to the south. A lot of people actually live in Dryden and work at those two mines. So I often kind of get stopped at community events and things and say, hey, when are we getting a mine in Dryden? Are you working on that? And people know me from Red Lake from my days there. So I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to find one for you. We'll see if we can't bring that home. So I think we'll actually be quite lucky with a workforce here locally.
Great. Now that brings me to sort of the last drilling question. You've got drilling program going on, core cutter there, the shacks and everything. How quickly can you turn around an assay, is that local?
Actually, we also have an assay lab here, which is pretty incredible. It services Red Lake. Serendipitous. When I worked in Red Lake, we used to send our samples down here to Dryden. It was also the closest Walmart, so I was very familiar with this town. But anyway, so we have that very good turnaround with the lab here in town. We can actually deliver our own samples. I would say it was a little bit painful setting up our own core shack and getting our team trained. So our summer program was a little slower than we would have liked getting the results back, but I don't see that going forward. We're kind of up and running now, and all those logistical challenges that always happen in a startup are through. So I think we'll have pretty good turnaround times and start to see some more results as we go into before Christmas. We'll get some out, and then into the new year, I think we'll continue to have lots.
Nice.
Well, it's interesting how you mentioned earlier too that the Trump victory has kind of threw looked like a wrench in the price of gold. I personally think we've seen a new bottom, and things will sort itself out and gold will go higher. But a question I'd have for you as shareholders, small shareholders, and I'm sure everybody's got a similar question. Would the strategy be to be looking for a company to partner with, or to sell the property and company to? What do you see as a strategy, or is there a couple of them?
We're certainly open to kind of any option at this point. We know that we're really good at exploring, but I think it's very challenging to build a mine as a junior. So we're certainly looking to, as we get closer to that and a resource partner, whether it be a JV or buyout. And that is why we've early on started talking with major companies. A strategic investment would be, I think, that checkbox that I think is our next catalyst to really kind of keep the share price up. Hopefully turmoil, we'll see what direction things go. It's been kind of volatile after the election, certainly. And I think people are just wondering how is it all going to go?
A little bit like you said earlier, sort of a little bit of a balancing act. And sometimes you just kind of have to put your faith in something and just kind of watch to see how it unfolds. So in the name of closing Eureka Moments, what do you think your vision for Dryden Gold's future is, say, over the next 24 months? What would your best guess and hope would be?
I think we'll continue down our path of really exploring the Gold Rock camp, trying to grow something that could be a resource and something mineable. We always talk that our base case is, there are 3 million ounces at Next Gold's property in this camp. If we could find a little bit more high grade, and that's certainly all we're exploring for it, we're targeting high grade mineralization. So I think that could really unlock the camp, and that's kind of our base case. So we'll keep working on that. But we have a two-pronged approach. We're paying attention to the entire resource pipeline, making sure we have targets to keep growing this, because we have a huge land package. We believe this is a district play. Well, I know when I talk to the major companies, that's what gets them interested. That's what they start listening more and start tuning in. We're trying to make a brand new discovery here to add to what we already know is sort of there. So that work may not always seem sexy, but it's going on, and it's certainly getting the attention of some of the bigger companies. And I think that's where, with some luck, with all the good work we're doing, we can unlock something really big.
That sounds really good, and good luck on all of that. It's a really great update, and we thank you very much for being here.
It was so nice talking to you guys.
Calling all savvy investors in mining and resources. Seeking the inside track on Dryden Gold? Look no further than minestalkers.com for cutting-edge knowledge and real-time stock updates. Visit for the insights and stay for the gains. Seize the opportunity and explore the magic at minestalkers.com. Uncover new investment possibilities today. Don't forget to hit the bell below to subscribe, and then like and share this video. Let's get the word out there.